I said in the live stream chat, can I get an amen? And it took long enough. But thank you, Bill Shirk. I was looking for an amen from Jamie, because she's special to me. You're not, Bill. Nobody with the name Bill is special to me. Just kidding. Thanks, Mark Bachman. Oh, I like that name. Ends with man. Real man. For being here first. 10,000 Pine Points. I'm feeling good today. 10,000 Pine Points. All paid expense trip to the luxurious circus. Bed bugs come for free. I just got off of X talking to Phil. Who's Phil, you might ask? Well, Phil's the guy who ended Jordan Peterson's career. He told me he's blowing up. He's becoming very popular. Phil, don't let this get to your head. You know, the same thing happened to me when I started this channel. I mean, I would be stopped on the street by random strangers saying, "Are you PineCreek?" I said, "Yeah." And I couldn't go shopping. So Phil, take it easy. I mean, not Phil, sorry, Danny. His name's Danny. I know his name's Danny. Sorry, Phil, Danny. Danny at Philtalk. That's his name of his YouTube channel. You know, Danny's blowing up. So it'll be exciting to see the opportunities that come his way in the future, and he can say he got his start on the PineCreek channel. I actually have only listened to like 30-second clips on X from it, and I noticed that on his YouTube channel he has a 2-minute, 28-second clip. Oh my goodness. Okay, I would have never done that. I'm not that mean. People think I'm a mean, uncompassionate guy, but I could not have done that. Why did Danny do that? Well, maybe if I stream long enough, he'll come in. He said he's busy. I invited him to come in right now, but I'm not sure why he did that. Everybody who's familiar with Jordan Peterson knows that he waffles on the God question, on the Christianity question. And if you're really cynical, you say, well, he does that because he doesn't want to alienate Christians and he wants to keep the money coming in from Christians. If you're cynical, you say that. If you're charitable, you would say, he just doesn't know, or he's so philosophical on this particular issue that he will not commit to it because of the metaphysics of it all and the definitions and semantics of it all, and I don't know what. But I really think that if you were to ask Jordan Peterson, hey, do you believe Santa Claus exists as an entity other than outside people's thoughts? Like a real entity that goes down chimneys, has reindeer, flies around the world giving gifts? He'd no problem say, no, I don't believe that. I believe it as a fiction, a story, but not. But with Jesus rising from the dead, with the God question, then he struggles. And I'm not sure why. Philosophers in general tend to be weird, so maybe he's just weird. But I've only seen 2 clips from this, and I think originally it was titled Jordan Peterson, a Christian versus 20 atheists, and then it was changed to Jordan Peterson versus 20 atheists because of what Danny did here, because Jordan Peterson will not commit either way to being a Christian or not. But this wasn't, I think, the biggest takedown of Jordan Peterson. I think it's this. At least I love this here. This is something I've been talking about for a long, long time, and it was good to see it on Jubilee. If you
believe in an all-knowing God, then free will is impossible.
You know,
it's at least like the last 50 years.
Oh, Danny, you can come up? Okay. Do you know my whereby link off the top of your head? I'll send it to you here. And you can tell us all why you did what you did. Explain yourself. Let me see. I'll do it through X. Here we go. Jordan Peterson deserves this kind of treatment. He's a pseudo-intellectual. I don't know. I actually view Jordan Peterson as he has well intent. He doesn't mean to harm anyone. He just waffles on the God question. He just refuses to answer it. Okay, I sent you the link in X, Danny. I'm sorry for calling you Phil before. Freudian slip. I don't know, Chad. Was he asked about dragons? Do you believe dragons exist? Depends how you define dragon. People say I say the word dragon weird. The Canadian accent. Would you like to see my dragon? Here it comes. Elder abuser? Say something, make sure I can hear you. Oh, I can't. Gearbox top right. Make sure you got the... Oh,
what about now?
There you go.
Alrighty. What's going on?
I haven't streamed in, I think, over a month, maybe even 2.
Wow, the Peterson debacle has awakened the PineCreek.
Yeah, you're right. Well, I actually have an interview coming up in 20 minutes with someone. But yeah, it's with, maybe I should plug that. It's with a guy who is on the left. He's a left-leaning person politically, and he interviewed someone. And because he interviewed someone that's not on the pre-approved list by the progressive left, he was shunned and castigated. And so we're going to interview him about that. Similar to what happened to Derek from MythVision.
All right, that's a perfect time for me to exit. So don't want to deal with that.
Okay, so why did you beat up on Jordan Peterson so badly?
So first of all, keep in mind that this was the last half. I had been listening to all the BS, and I felt like my chair was like charging me up, like from like whatever Peterson was saying, like the energy went into me. And then when I got there, I was like, I put the gloves on. Parker's exchange was, I think, the worst segment for Peterson. I actually don't think I like outmaneuvered him philosophically. You know, the whole Mary thing wasn't very clear.
Well, you were trying to trap him, of course.
Right, but you know, the average person didn't know what I was trying to do there. Or maybe the below average person didn't know.
Well, let me tell you what I think you were trying to do. You're trying to pit him against Catholicism, or other Christians, Protestants, and saying that, hey, you think atheists worship something, but really you should worship God. But hey, you go to a Catholic church and you worship, or you ought to worship Mary because they do.
Yeah, well, yeah. His definition. The point is that he wants to say atheist worship stuff, but then I think what's going on is that he wants to say, well, look, let's be charitable to the Catholics, and they would never say that they worship Mary, right? She's like lower on the hierarchy. Suddenly,
Some would.
Huh?
Some would say they worship Mary.
Right, but you're right. It's true that if you ask like really informed Catholics, they'll say there's no problem in saying that they worship Mary, but worship has a different, like they have like 4 distinctions. And the point is that they don't just say they worship Mary unless they're able to like, this is what we mean when we worship Mary, when we worship God, when we worship, you know, our parents, right? Like we mean different things. The point is that, and I don't think in my personal opinion, I don't think I was terribly successful because I didn't really want to talk about that. I wanted to say, I was wondering why Jordan Peterson was on the show. Okay. That's what I wanted to talk about. Why are you here? But that's why I pivoted to, are you a Christian? But with the Mary thing is that why is he like, notice that he was ready to defend his Catholic brethren, right? Willing to, oh, well, there's attending in this way, attending in that way. He started making careful distinctions, but he won't do that for atheists, right? So he won't say, oh, well, atheists wouldn't say that. But you know, the point is that it felt like rage bait, which, you know, I rage bait sometimes, but my rage bait is to get people to talk to me. We're already there. You're going to talk to us anyway. Like, why? You don't have to rage bait to get us to talk to you. You can just have a normal prompt. In principle, if you define worship in a way where I worship my wife, fine, right? What's the problem with atheism, right? So anyways.
How did you get invited to that?
I actually had a negative view of Jubilee before this. Now I actually have a more positive view, but of course I'm the I benefited from Jubilee. So I probably, we can talk about that later, but I would never have applied. What happened was a mutual friend, well, a mutual friend of Jubilee's, right? Well, I was friends with Parker and he asked them to invite me and I accepted the invitation. I was more excited to see my friend and others. There were other friends. Ian was there. He's a friend of mine. I was more excited to see them than Peterson. I did not for 1 second want to talk to Jordan Peterson, like intrinsically. It was all a means to an end. I think Jordan Peterson is like a headache to talk to. So that's how I got in.
Yeah, especially on the God question.
Especially that one.
Yeah, he's pretty good on other things, in my opinion. But I got a problem with your friend Parker who invited you. He booted me. Did you see that on his show?
Yeah, we talked about that. He thinks you're above average. So maybe we could...
I don't know if I should take that as a compliment or not. Oh man, he has to see his own virtue signaling. Can he not see it? Is he a real man, or is like us, or
he'll be willing to talk to you again, and you can ask him.
I invited him to come on my show. He said no way.
He said no way.
No way. He said I won't go on your show or anybody else's.
I mean, I might be able to change his mind.
But he basically said, "You need to say that Kamala Harris is black."
Yeah, you know how I get very I don't do the politics thing for a reason. I argue whether Jesus is schizophrenic. That's what I want to talk about right now. So I don't the politics. Maybe another time.
See, we're opposites there. I think the politics is better, and I know I'm in the minority. I've lost a lot of viewers because I've switched to politics, but. What's the reason to talk about God, the God question?
Well, I'm more entertained. Also, I think that, okay, now you got me talking about politics. Look at you. This was a trap, wasn't it? So look, my general view, and I told you this before, right? My view is that Democrats, Republicans, there are a lot of well-meaning people in both parties. Mm-hmm. I don't think they're suspicious enough of capitalism. I think both parties sort of we start with capitalism. It's just a certain version, right? If I don't want to argue whether capitalism is flawed or not, that's not what I came here to do. But just pretend I'm right, that something's wrong with capitalism. We need a different system. Then our whole political discourse is always we're arguing about chicks with dicks, right? We're arguing about the sports thing.
Parker wouldn't like you to say it that way, chicks with dicks.
Okay, look, man, we're arguing about what are we arguing about? What are you talking about on your channel? Racism? I guess racism is bad.
No,
right?
I talk about a whole potpourri of things. But I'm getting to the meta part. Why?
The point is that if capitalism is the source of the issue, right? Then, and if we stop framing the question as how can we make Americans better versus how can we better human beings, then the most important issues are fixing our economic system so that people can have clean water, food, housing globally, right? I think that's the issue, not the sort of issues that people like to talk about online. I get why people are very passionate about abortion, but whether zygotes have souls, right? I think our healthcare system is way more problematic. I think let's fix our healthcare system before we talk about whether zygotes have souls. That's my view anyway. But you got me talking about politics now.
Well, it seems like once you just say a few words, you just go. But I'm curious about why the God stuff still interests you. Why you enjoy it?
Why do I enjoy the God stuff? I was very devout. I was extremely devout. I wanted to be a Sunday school teacher. I wanted I did not plan on being the heathen that I am. And so
what happened to you, Danny?
I know.
Did someone in the church, did Frank Turek hurt you?
I love Frank Turek. What would we do without these people? It would be so boring, right? But yeah, anyways, no, I actually think the political stuff is technically way more important to talk about, but I think people are talking about the wrong things. But the religion stuff for me is fun, right? It's interesting. I came from that background. It's culturally relevant to me. So maybe I'll get into politics one day, but truly, I don't know anything about politics. Like, I don't know what the right political system we should have exactly. I think, is democracy the all and be all? I mean, I'm not. Maybe maybe not. Maybe that we need something like a republic. Maybe I should be king, right?
Can I tell you why I lost interest in that topic, the God topic?
I can only guess.
Oh, actually, go ahead and guess.
It's repetitive, right? It's like the same old conversation over and over and over again.
It's repetitive, and plus, in the last 4 years or so, I began to notice that the average Christian in America, I like more than the average atheist.
Say that again?
The average atheist in America, I don't like as much as the average Christian.
Yeah, okay.
In other words, I think on average, in the United States of America, Christianity has better outcomes.
Yeah, that gets back into, what are sort of the economic institutional systems that Christians typically support? Are those the way they should be? And then it goes back to the conversation that the way I laid out everything. Is capitalism suspicious? I think it is.
Yeah, well, to me, it has to be a mixture of the two, and most countries in the world, you can't really find a purely capitalistic society anymore, well, you can get closer with a purely socialistic society in China, I guess, but even they're very capitalistic.
They're capitalist as all heck right now.
Yeah, so. But when you ask, if Matt Dillahunty were here and the age-old question, Matt, why do you care about God so much? For someone who doesn't believe in God, you should talk about him a lot. What does he say? He says, because it affects how people vote and how they act. And what is that? That's politics.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So is that what we're going to talk about? Politics?
No. In fact, I have no desire to talk about politics right now, but I'm just letting you know why I made that shift, and the repetition, you nailed it. I mean, once you've heard it, I mean, what more is there to say about anything?
Well, look, for me, it's like, I'm not interested in talking to a well-meaning Christian who's trying to learn from me. Like, I'm not interested in debating that person. I'm fine to talk to them. I don't want to debate someone that's trying to learn from me or trying to understand my perspective. Like, that's, I like to crush pretentious Christian apologists. Like, that is like my favorite meal. Like, Christian apologist is like with a side, with a side of Muslim, right? Like the point is
side of Muslim,
right? It's, right. The point is, morons like Inspiring Philosophy, right? Theist Brooks, right? These people bother me more than they bother you. You see, you're saying the atheists bother you, right? Generally speaking, right? I'm sorry, but these apologists bother me way more, right? Now, whether my priorities are right, whether I'm, true to the utilitarian calculus, or I probably. I don't know.
I'm going to say something that will shock you, but I bet you if I had a choice, well, let's say I could do both, go out with Parker on a night out, or go out with Inspiring Philosophy, I'd probably have more fun with Inspiring Philosophy.
Yeah, one's a liar and a manipulator. The other one isn't.
Don't be so hard on Parker.
Oh, look at you. Look, you're taking me out of context or something.
No, I just think I am so different than guys like Parker. And what do you think is my last question, we'll leave it here because my guest is waiting. Mm-hmm. What do you think is the fundamental difference? If you could take all the reasons why some lean left, some lean right, and you could distill it to one main factor, what would it be?
Basically, well, there's different framings of it. The framing, I'll tell you, it depends how you frame left and right in the first place. The way I frame it is in terms of...
In 2025 in America, the common perception of left and right. Like, why do you think I lean one way and Parker leans another? What's the fundamental difference between us?
I don't know if I have a rough and ready answer. I think that the way that people use the term left, for instance, is gay marriage a left wing?
Forget about the word left. Just me and Parker. You know me.
Oh, you and Parker.
And you know Parker. What's the fundamental reason why we're so different in how we vote and what we believe? What do you think it is?
I know both of y'all pretty well. why is Parker the way he is, and why aren't you like Parker?
Why is Parker not like me?
Well, putting aside any arguments and evidence, like presumably, that's part of it, right? Like y'all interpret the evidence, the data very differently.
But why?
I'm
going
don't think
deeply meta with you right now.
I know what you would say.
What would I say?
Well, something about personal responsibility, right? Or something. I don't know, like that you care about someone when they do something, let's say, fiscally irresponsible personally, that they should suffer personally, that the collective shouldn't step in.
I asked this exact same question on Parker's show, and Parker didn't answer, but his, I don't know, producer or the guy in the background, he answered right away, and I agreed with him. It was empathy or compassion. I would say compassion more than empathy. People have very, like, you're more like me than Parker. Like, you don't give a crap about people sometimes.
No, okay.
Well, you didn't care about Jordan Peterson's feelings, that's for sure.
I had to care about everyone else's feelings. Everybody was so frustrated. I had to. I have done everybody a service. You can live vicariously through me, right? So that's me being empathetic.
Okay, you're helping the common man beat up on Jordan
Everyone's
Peterson.
so frustrated with him. Everybody.
He's an old man who almost died.
You're being an ageist, right? You're an old man, right?
Yeah, I'm an old man.
You're
See?
obsolete. Are you washed up right now? Are you like Peterson? Right? I remember.
I don't need social media to survive.
I'm looking at the viewers right now. It says 100, right? When I first met you, it was like 400.
No, you're exaggerating. On a very, very good day, I would get over 400.
Okay.
That was rare. But I would get regularly 250 to 300. You're right there. But we just started too, and Pierce is coming in.
You're being sensitive, right? I was messing with you.
See, there you are hurting people's feelings again.
All right, I'm gonna let you go then.
Okay, well, thanks for hopping on.
Absolutely. Bye.
Okay, this is a complete shift. Boy, I like your background. I mean, you're like bright and purple.
Thank you.
So you're Pierce. We've known each other for how long now? 2 years? Online?
Yeah.
I'd say at least 2 years. And let me compliment you in front of the audience here. As long as I've known you, you're a highly compassionate person. You've always been nice to me, even when you've been kind of sarcastic towards me and, playfully teasing me. I've never sensed, online at least, that you had any ill will. I think you're the type of person who, when you interview people, you genuinely want to know what they think. Again, no ill will to anyone, and for that I commend you. But why are you on the show today?
Well, you posted that one video, and I don't remember the title or the name of the guy. Derek, was it? You posted that video, and I saw a lot of similarities.
Derek from Myth Vision.
Myth Vision, that's it. Yep.
Yeah.
Derek from Myth Vision. And I saw a lot of similarities between his story and what he had to say, and kind of what happened to me, really, too, with some of the folks I interviewed. One of them being Mia Hughes. Okay,
let me get the viewers caught up in case they don't have any idea what we're talking about. Derek is a YouTuber. He does like boring stuff like Old Testament history and New Testament stuff. Anyhow, stuff I used to be interested in a little bit, but not so much. And anyhow, he had a guy named Robert Price on his show often, but Robert Price is a Republican like I am. And of course, Republicans are evil fascist people. And so some of the left-wing people, which make up the majority of people in academia, were not too pleased to have this right-wing extremist on his show. And so they pressured him about 3 years ago to get rid of him. And he did, especially after Price came on my show and I interviewed him, which I posted recently. And then, fast forward 3 years, he apologizes to Robert Price and now kind of hates. I think that's a fair word. I think Derek hates at least some members of the far left, progressive, woke, whatever you want to call them, because of how he's been treated. Just trying to destroy him and his channel, and I don't know what. And in fact, I invited Derek to come on after you, so hopefully he sees that and he has spare time. But what happened to you? What's your story?
Yeah, so I interviewed quite a few people, and people who typically would be right wing, I guess you could say. It was Catherine Gladys Drake, Dr. Francis Widdowson, Mia Hughes, Michael Bailey, and yeah, all of them were revolving. Well, actually, take that back. Not all of them. With Dr. Francis Widdowson, there was nobody's really cared about that one. I guess nobody
Really knows her. She's Canadian.
Sure. Yeah. Well, so is Mia, right?
Oh,
But
is she?
yeah. Well, she's from the UK, but then she moved to Canada. She currently lives in Canada.
Yeah, I hate Canadians.
You're not Canadian, are you?
Yeah,
Bill?
I am. I'm a
No?
Canadian citizen and a U.S. citizen, so
Ah.
I'm like James Bond. I got 2 passports.
But anyway, with Dr. Francis Widdowson, we just kind of talked about the spectrum. We didn't really talk about anything controversial, so that's probably why nobody cared about that one. But with the other 3, it was all about a trans related topic.
Ooh.
And yeah, people do not like anybody having a conversation on that topic, really, unless it's like the left, the woke.
Yeah, the left talking
typically-
within the left. And then usually when they talk about it, it's about how bad the right is.
Yeah, unless you're having the conversation where you're just hating on the right and their opinions of that topic, right?
Mhm.
You're kind of not allowed to have that conversation. You're not allowed to ask critical questions to someone who has a different opinion than them and examine it. You're not able to have that cordial conversation.
Yeah.
They want it to always be like this aggressive debate.
Yeah.
At least that's the feedback I got. And
Well,
the
you
feedback
know,
is a little light.
navigating with Nate, he's also in the SE community. I had him on, I don't know, 3, 4, or 5 months ago. No, 3 months. And I asked him questions, and it was a very cordial conversation. And I remember reading at least one comment saying, why don't we get a real trans advocate on here instead of this Nate guy? And it's because Nate didn't, go to battle with me. We just had a nice conversation, and they don't want to hear that. And
Right.
I remember trying to get on, or I did get on the line. What is it? Transatlantic. And I had a tiptoe, like as much as I could tiptoe. I barely talked. And it's just like, anyhow, what do you think? Well, first of all, what did they say to you? Because you interviewed Mia on the trans issue.
Sure. Like some of the so I did actually get some actual feedback. A lot of it was just a bunch of bullshit, really. Like it was just like really nasty insults. Just
To you?
really yeah, to me, like
Not to Mia.
DMs and shit. I don't think Mia. I don't know if she got anything. I don't know if she gets stuff all the time. She's probably pretty used to it, I would assume.
But they were
But-
complaining more about you to you than Mia to you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it was. I mean, there was definitely complaints just to me about Mia, but also it was just about me too. Just about me having her. Just about me not being critical enough, apparently. About all that. I guess that's pretty much it. Yeah.
So how would you describe yourself politically?
Well, right now I would say I'm, I guess, balanced. Like, there's some issues that I would, if it was just about voting for an issue, I'd vote right. If it was just about a different issue, I'd vote left. So, like, if there was a presidential election today, and there was a right candidate and a left candidate, I have no idea who the heck I'd vote for. honestly.
Okay. So you would and did you consider yourself kind of centrist, I don't know, 2 years ago?
No, no, probably a couple years ago, I would consider myself pretty left-leaning.
So you have shifted right over the span of 2 years. What do you think has caused that?
I think it's a combination of things. COVID didn't exactly help. Um, that was quite a fiasco. And then this whole topic around trans rights, I think there's a lot of harm going on to children, and that sucks, man.
Yeah.
That sucks.
Yeah, when Trump won the election, I said this is one of the reasons why he won is this issue and the whole critical theory issue and this type of feel sorry forism and shunning conversations and calling people names, fascist, whatever. That's a big part, and people had enough. And you're testament to that being true.
Yeah, and you know what? What's really ironic is that after my first interview that people took issue with, which was the one with Catherine, and the whole conversation, like she was talking about how she was going out with actually Dr. Francis, and they would go out and do Spectrum SE, right? And then she told the story about after that session, they went to like a bar or something, or I don't think Dr. Francis was with her, but anyways, they went to this bar and she had an interaction with someone who was trans, right? And they have this interaction, and she's being a dick, right? She's not being
The
nice.
trans
And
person
that's why
or Catherine?
Catherine. I mean, I don't know. I only have her side of the story. I don't know if the trans person was being a dick. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. From what Catherine told me, maybe slightly, but she didn't even seem to indicate that they were being that much of a dick. But anyways, she was very aggressive. It didn't, from her side of the story. She didn't even explain the way she explained it. It didn't even sound like she was being terribly kind. Like it wasn't that great. And I didn't push back on any of these claims that she was making because she was uh, misgendering this person, which is kind of a dick move, right? They're in a bar, they're chatting away. This isn't a debate stage or something, right? And I'm talking with Catherine, and I'm not pushing back on any of this crap. I'm ignoring all these claims. I'm just the whole point of the stream was just to teach her like how to have a cordial conversation. That's
Right.
all it was.
Right.
That's all I wanted to do. And there was so much fucking explosive, nasty comments towards me for just trying to do that.
Yeah.
Just trying to do that.
But you know why, right? It's because some people just can't do it. They cannot. I noticed that years ago with a good friend of mine. I would live stream with an apologist. And the apologist would say something that was factually incorrect, and I would let it go because I had bigger fish to fry and I had different goals. And it bothered him, like deeply bothered. Why didn't you push back there? Why not? And for some people, when they hear something that is really, I don't know, important to them or painful or whatever, they just can't let it go. It's like a knee-jerk reaction that I just don't think they can help. At least it would take years of training. And yeah, I what you described, I've experienced so many times of just letting things go. But I would get a pass on that often because people would see at the very end what I was doing, and they would always, champion me. Oh, Doug, in the end, actually got this apologist. He let him talk and talk and talk to hang himself with enough rope through talking. But it seems like if you're a trans advocate, you just, every little thing, you have to pound and pound and pound.
Yeah. Pretty much, if you don't if you're not constantly affirming, if you're not affirming that view while also really pounding on anyone who disagrees, you're the enemy in their eyes. You're absolutely the enemy.
Yeah. So how do you fix that?
I don't know that I can, and that's why I've been like I've been depressed, Doug. Like it's like I wanted to do something, you know, with starting my channel and going out in real life and in online. I wanted to make a real difference. I wanted people to learn how to talk to each other. Let's fucking figure some shit out, man. You know? But then it's like you get this where it's like people aren't willing to have that conversation. How can you inspire someone to want to have that cordial conversation?
Well, I have some ideas of maybe how you can at least open the door for people to think a little differently. And that is have them what happened to you, have it happen to them. So what you do is, let's say there's a person out there who disagrees with me on all my political views. Okay? And it really, even as a person, just does not like me. If I can get them to do me one favor, and that is be an actor for 30 minutes. Act. Pretend I'm paying you. In fact, I could even pay them. I'll pay you money to be an actor for 30 minutes. And then you can tell the truth later if you want, or you can, you might have to tell the truth, like let it percolate for maybe a few days. But go against your tribe. Say something purposely that you know will offend the belief system of your tribe. And then leave the situation and don't do anything and see how they respond to you in the coming days. And then after 3 days pass, hey guys, I was just kidding. I was running an experiment. And guess what? You guys treat me like crap for those 3 days just because I had a different opinion than you. Right? Wouldn't that work?
How many people will agree? I think it would work if people did that. Yeah, that would work. I don't think anybody's even going to be willing to try that. I think they know what the results are going to be.
Like if I don't have an atheist community, but if I, well, a little bit. If I did, and like Reed, we both know Reed. Let's say I told you, okay, don't tell Reed this, but I'm going to pretend that I converted back to Christianity. And then I let Reed know, hey, got some big news. I'm now a Christian again. I bet you anything Reed would treat me just the same.
Oh, I bet.
And that to me is a true friend. But I foresee so many people, like there'd be some atheists who say, see, I told you, I mean, I suspected you were a Christian. And they're just like, he's a right-wing fascist, he wants Christian nationalism, all this stuff. That's how they would react, and they would just be angry and call me names and stuff. And this is why I actually think Christians are not as bad as atheists on this issue, on this type of treatment. Do you agree?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, of all the people I've ever interacted with, whether it be online or in person, as far as Christians go, I can think, and I've talked to a lot of Christians, maybe 3 that I can think of that were just kind of complete dick. Been kind, amazing, right? As far as atheists go, it's way more than 3, and I've probably talked to less.
Yeah. But tell me if you think my reasoning's correct. I think the reason for this is because Christians have a better sense of identity. Like when you're told as a Christian that you're a child of the King, that you are special in God's eyes, that he has redeemed you, saved you. And where he even says, to die is gain. My kingdom is not of this world, that sort of thing. Then it's easier to let certain things go in this world. It's easier to say, that's okay. I'm going to be just fine. God has my back. Atheists can't do that. So for an atheist when their identity is challenged, here's has greater utility. Definition of man, definition of woman. This has a greater utility. Penis, ovaries, vagina, not identity. If you make that argument, right now you're attacking their identity, and they got nothing to fall back on. They have no God that has their back, and a lot of them, they've lost their family because of this. And so if you're now challenging what's really important to them, their own identity, it's like, this is why they view words as violence, because they rather be spat in the face and punched in the gut than be told that they're not who they think they are. Do you think I'm right on this? That it's all based on this identity and they really have none?
I think you're right. And I think the reason I've never realized that is because I was never a theist. So I don't know what it's like to be on the other side. So, but that makes sense.
So you were raised in an atheist home too?
Not exactly. It just wasn't really pushed, right? It was Roman Catholic, but it was just me and my mom, and like she didn't make a big deal about it.
But as long as you can remember, you've been an atheist?
Yeah. I was just like, I don't really believe you on that one.
That's another pattern I've noticed.
Bullshit.
People like you who've been atheists basically their whole life and really don't have parents that were theists at all or not, remotely serious. You are less likely to have a stick up your butt about it. And so many atheists in the United States of America, so many atheists, are former Christians, and they got sticks up their butt. It's like, you treated this person badly, you treated me badly, I wasn't accepted, whatever. You lied to me, whatever. And they just can't let it go. So much bitterness and rage.
Yeah. I mean, I get it. Like, in a lot of those cases, they kind of were treated badly in many cases. But yeah, I mean, they do still have an axe to grind. They're unhappy with religion.
Yeah, you said something to me on X, which made me chuckle. You said, hey, Doug, remember a couple years ago when you said with Peter Boghossian that it's mostly about politics? I think you're right now. That made me chuckle because so many people push back hard on me on that.
I did. I was pushing back on you hard.
You did too? I don't remember.
I did. I was right there with Navigate with Nate saying, Doug, you're wrong. You're wrong, Doug. I mean, from my perspective, for me, it wasn't really about that. But for a lot of other people, and I was even fighting for these other people, I was like, Doug, all these other people are saying the same thing as me. But I think you're probably right. Like, I'm not in their mind. I don't know for sure. But it does seem more about the politics in it.
Yeah, and for the people who don't know, the main reason why Peter Boghossian started this book, or wrote the book, Manual for Creating Atheists, and it was mostly about atheism versus Christianity, but then that's shifted. And then Peter got very political, especially on the trans issue, critical race issues and so forth. And then a lot of people in the street epistemology community got mad at him for how he was doing things, like the words he would use, and that he wasn't really doing true SE and that sort of thing. And even though a lot of the things the way he shifted with his interviews was like a different version of street epistemology, in my opinion, that Reed developed. They still hounded him on this. And I very early on could see they're just mad at him because they disagree with him politically. And then they viewed that Peter was tarnishing the SE brand. And I had to point out to them, especially after Trump won the election, that he's helping the brand. Because more people agree with Peter politically than with probably most of the street epistemology people's political views. And so if society in general knew what most of street epistemologists actually believe politically. They would want nothing to do with them, especially on the trans issue, and that's the main issue that Peter was chastised over.
That's interesting, Doug. That's.
You disagree with me that he helps the brand?
I'm maybe not. I think my sticking point, my part that I don't know, and I really don't know, is like would the right or would the left gravitate more towards street epistemology? Like who's ultimately the end consumer? Who would most likely use it?
I would say the left, but maybe for a different reason than you're thinking of. I think the left.
What's your reason?
My reasoning is the left is more sensitive and more compassionate in quotes. And so street epistemology is less offensive. However, people on the right are okay with offense. They're okay with speaking their mind more so than people on the left. So imagine two of me, but we disagree on a political thing. But we both lean right, but on this thing we disagree. We can have a spirited debate back and forth and really even cause some friction, and at the end of the day walk away fine. That's harder to do for people on the left. They internalize it more because I think humans are different, but basically I explain it as the main difference between men and women. And it's not a coincidence that the left has, 55, 60% women in it, and the right have 55, 60% men.
Yeah, your reason is the same reason as me. I just had no idea how to verbalize that.
Yeah. So it's interesting to see how, well, the Street Epistemology Discord channel is almost dead now. But a couple of years ago, when I would go in there, I could tell people didn't like me. And I could tell that as soon as I was there, it's like some people would just get quiet. And I could also tell cynically that it was a support group for people. It wasn't a group where, of course it was a group where they were trying to be better at street epistemology, but it was more so, I'm struggling, I'm hurting because of this relationship. What's a better way to engage with that person?
Yeah, I can see that. I don't know how. I can't speak to. I wasn't involved a lot in the VCs, especially in its heyday. But yeah, I could see that being true for a certain percentage of people there.
How's my audio, by the way? Some people are saying I'm choppy, but am I okay to you?
I can hear you fine for me.
I'm not getting quiet or loud or anything?
No.
Where do you think the future is going for your channel and for street epistemology in general?
I'm not sure. I mean, street epistemology, I think it's going to stay about exactly how it is for a long time. And then maybe quietly, nobody will ever really talk about it, unfortunately. I think that's kind of, it's a downward trend, I think. And I don't think that's necessarily anyone's fault. I don't think it's anybody at SEI's fault. I think it's a matter of the style of dialogue, right? And how it interacts with the algorithm of the internet, right?
Yeah.
People don't search for, casual, laid back conversations, right? They want the fiery, in your face debate shit, right? They want those takedowns,
Yeah.
So,
the beauty of what you do, and you're very good at it, it is best done when nobody's watching. That's, and that's the painful reality where, if you are looking for any type of praise or adulation, you're not going to get it because it's going to be private, but the person you're talking to will appreciate it. And so the Street Epistemology 101 interviews is dreadfully boring, but it's very effective, especially for people who, are willing to talk and engage, not like the woke crazy people. Well, the woke crazy people will engage with you as long as it's on a topic that it's, benign or, they don't really care about.
Yeah, I guess it depends how you define woke too. I mean, like I had a conversation with three college students at the University of Minnesota, and it was about if kids should be given hormones to transition, right? And I think they all were very very left leaning on that topic, but it actually went down really well. Like we got down to some core shit with that, and yeah, I mean maybe they're not part of the woke mob, right?
Yeah, it's interesting. I was told, I don't know, a decade ago that, Doug, don't, everybody's going to end up shifting left in the future because the kids believe they're left-leaning people, and as they get older. No, the young people today are shifting right in droves. My son works with a bunch of guys. He's a valet. He works with a lot of young guys. They're all pretty much hardcore Republican types. And they laugh and mock at the left and just, these guys are nuts. They're crazy. Well, I want nothing to do with them. And these are not, guys who necessarily come from Republican homes or anything. Their eyes are open, and this does not relate to me at all. And yeah.
Yeah, if you would have asked me, 5 years ago, I would have agreed. Like the young folks are all, the future is going to be the left because all of new people who are becoming adults are going to be overwhelmingly left leaning. But yeah, I do see that trend a little bit more too.
So if there are, when I say crazy woke people, I mean about the type of person who treated you the way they're treating you in the past. What do you want to tell them right now? What do you wish they would know about you and your method, or do you just want to swear at them right now? You can do that too.
No, I mean, for a while I was pretty worked up. Like it just sucks, and it's just like I would say things about how I feel, right? My motives, all that. And then they would come back with, no, your motive is actually this. No, you actually feel this way. No, it's like.
They were denying your real life, your lived experience?
I don't know if I'd put it that way, those words, but.
You use the rhetoric against them. Their rhetoric.
Yeah. But I guess what I would want to tell them is like, I don't hate anybody. Like they would say that you hate trans people. I don't hate trans people, man. Like if someone like feels like they're in the wrong body or something, right? They were supposed to be born this other gender, sex, whatever, right? I don't hate you. I don't hate you at all. Not even this much. Like I could fucking love you. I could fucking love you, man. Like this is what I think, all right? You can have that feeling. And I'll acknowledge that feeling. You have that feeling. Great. Then there's the strategy, right? Like let's say you're a kid. Okay, under 18. I don't think if you have that feeling, discomfort, I don't think the strategy to alleviate that discomfort is having a surgery or taking hormones. I don't think that's the right strategy. I love you. I hope the best for you, but I hope you don't make that decision.
But Pierce, why don't you follow the science? The science says it does work.
I just had this conversation with someone in text over the last week or so, and he sent me these studies, and I looked at them. I got an open mind. I'll look at the studies. They didn't have a control, right? They looked at these youth, right? And they looked at the suicide rates before, or not the suicide rates. I apologize. The suicide thoughts. How many of them had
suicidality?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And they looked at it before any gender affirming treatment, and then they looked at it after. and they didn't have any group. Well, I apologize. They did have a group that didn't have all of the care, that didn't like take hormones, whatever. But it was their choice. They chose not to. It wasn't a matter of like separating the groups out, so there actually is a real control. They just looked at it before, after, and why that doesn't work is because we can't determine the causation of that. Could it have been time? Could it have been just growing up? Could it have been getting a lot of attention? Because when you
Yeah.
have these things done, you get a lot of attention, and you kind of have to. So we don't know the causation.
Yeah, I remember years ago doubting and being highly skeptical of the science in quotes. And I remember talking to people, I think it was on Nathan's channel, about, well, Doug, it works. Look at the science. They feel better. Well, if you give someone what they want, of course they're going to feel better for a time. The question is for how long and what's the risks to it? Like, does the feel better outweigh the risks? And we're learning now with the detransitioners and some of the side effects. Like basically, if you go on HRT for more than, was it 6 months or maybe it's 2 years, you're sterile. That's it. You're done. No more kids ever. And so, okay, you feel good from the age of 16 and 8 to 18 or 18 to 20. You feel better. But what happens when you turn 35 and you want kids? Well, okay, got to adopt, I guess.
And what's really important for me too is all of that, right? But also, is there an alternative,
right,
that could even yield better results?
I've brought that up too. I mean, have they tested it against other things like exercise? Have they tested against eating cheesecake? Like, cheesecake makes me feel really good inside. I mean, I have a brand new identity after eating a New York cheesecake. Like, is so like, the problem with all psychological healthcare is that it's affixed to a symptom, not the cause. It's try to put band-aids on things, and this is why I think, especially with children, you just don't muck around with drugs for this reason. Is like, the thing is, you know what, Pierce? I don't even know why we're even talking about this, because from my point of view, my side has won. I mean, I don't have to convince anyone. I don't even have to have this conversation unless I'm going to do it out of sheer entertainment, because 80% of Americans don't want males in women's sports. They're against any type of surgery, definitely bottom surgery for minors. And this whole argument, well, it's such a small percentage, it's not happening, it's not, whatever. Okay, fine. But we're agreed that we don't want it to ever happen, right? And so anyhow, the vast majority of Americans already agree with me or us on this topic. So should we even talk about it?
I think so. No, I'm not very. Maybe I should be more knowledgeable on this. I think I should be. I think there should be a law, like pass it through Congress, not a presidential order, that on some of these things, right? I don't know.
Well,
Do you think that's worth?
Yeah, Congress sure can pass laws, but I'm okay with the executive orders. Like, I'm okay with Trump standing up to the state of California. In fact, just was it yesterday or the day before, a male won the long jump competition, and the third place female, was so mad she didn't go on the podium afterwards. What society needs to do, and so I support Trump in what he's doing, threatening no federal funding for the state of California. But what society really needs to do is be less compassionate. And for someone on the left, they just like, they can't believe I would say such a thing. But what they need to do is, by being less compassionate, in a way, you're being more compassionate to cis women. In other words, show your compassion towards the cis women. And just whenever there's a male competing in sports, all the females, the real women, stand down. Don't compete against the male. Just don't do it. If you're at a starting line, 100 meter, and there's a male there, when the gun goes off, if you're a woman and you're happen to listen to this, stay in your blocks. And only go when the male crosses the finish line, and then you go. And if you do that enough, I call them bad actors. These bad actors will get the message from society: we don't want you here, we don't like you here, stop it. And they'll stop it. Now you would never say it that way, right?
I don't think so.
No, because we're different personality types. But to me, I don't care if people hate me for saying that, whatever. But I think that's what needs to be done. I think that's way more effective than withholding federal funding, because there's ways to cheat and get around it and whatever. But if society itself just says, no, we're not going to tolerate this. We're not.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's probably more effective than having conversations, I guess.
Well, if someone wants to have see, this is the thing. This is the woke progressive left are so incredibly stupid because they think by demanding things they can win and get their way. That if they throw enough tantrums, that eventually people will succumb to their wishes. Instead of trying to calmly and reasonably and even be nice to people like me and you and say, hey, find that one thing they like about me or you and compliment us and butter us up, whatever it takes. Just let them know that they don't completely hate us and say, hey, I really disagree with you on this one area. You mind if we talk? But no, they just basically, you're a fascist, you're a blah, 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 you don't care about trans people, you're evil. But okay, if that's the way you're going to act, guess what? Bye-bye. We'll never need to listen to you again.
Exactly. We wouldn't be having this conversation right here if they hadn't done that to me, right? They don't. People who have criticized me, listen up. Not only criticize you, I like criticism. I take that back. Not criticism. You have been complete jackasses to me because of some of the content, conversations, live streams, whatever. You're encouraging me. You're encouraging me not to be on your side. Just FYI, it's not helping. It's hurting.
Yeah, exactly. It's like if someone were to vote and they really dislike, let's say, how they've been treated or how people have treated you, they'll say, okay, you vote that way, I'm going to vote the opposite way, just because of that. In fact, I remember when I'm tired and lazy and someone asked me, well, Doug, why'd you vote for Trump? Because this person voted for Harris and I don't like that person. It's a simple way to do it, because you can't argue against that. And the thing is, get this, I truly believe this. I can't prove it or demonstrate it, but I truly, in my heart of hearts, believe this, that the woke progressive left is more hated in this country than the mega evangelical Christians. That's how much they're hated.
I'd say it's about equal. I mean, you got people extremes on both ends, and they just really fucking hate each other. Because
at least the mega conservative Christian's going to say, but Jesus loves you. Please accept him into your heart. That sort of thing. They'll at least hold out hope that for your eternal destiny, and they'll have this, what I said earlier, to die is gain. Like, there's bigger things in this world. But with these progressive woke types, this is all they got. It's like, it's now or never. And like, you can talk to a mega person about rights and stuff, and they'll say, yeah, I want my rights. But still, you can strip them of their rights and they're going to be just fine. Most of them are pretty self-achieving type people, and they know how to grow crops if they need to, or hunt or whatever. But the progressives left, they by the way, here's my other theory. This is why a lot of atheists, a lot of Christians who become atheists, go to the left initially is because God is no longer their safety net. So now they need the government to be.
I have a slightly different theory on that.
Okay, what's yours?
My theory is that they have this religion, this God, and it's almost like a form of activism, right? They, in sometimes, not all the case, they want to save people. They want to go out and convert this person to Christianity so they can live an eternal life or whatever, right? And then they lose that, and they're no longer an activist. But they want to be an activist. That's their thing. They like doing that. They have to adopt
but
a
they
cause.
suck at it.
I mean, I think that's probably irrelevant.
Yeah. Well, not really. It's not irrelevant if they actually truly want to change people's opinions on things. The best way to change people's minds on an issue, in my opinion, is not to try. But you can hear me out. It's not like you avoid them or whatever. You talk about the issue, but let them believe, and you yourself believe, that it really doesn't matter if you change their mind. All pressure's off. I'm not trying. I'm not like fear-mongering. I'm not, hey, if you disagree with me, fine. I mean, I still like you. You're a great guy, whatever. We have a disagreement, we disagree. But here's you want to hear why I believe what I believe. Here's why. And then they say why they believe, and then you basically do street epistemology. But if you put that pressure in that people are going to die unless you believe what I believe, I mean, that type of pressure, you're never going to change a person's mind. Whenever I hear fear-mongering, I basically turn off. I won't really listen to it anymore.
As you should.
Yeah.
Now, I don't think it's necessarily that these people leaving religion necessarily want to change people's mind. I mean, they do, don't get me wrong. But I think it's more about purpose, right? They had this purpose.
Yes.
This greater purpose. They need another greater purpose.
They need a replacement.
Something else. They need a replacement, right?
And a lot of them don't have families. See, I'm an atheist, but my purpose is to raise productive members of society, be the best father I can be, the best husband I can be. That's my purpose. Now, I'm imagining a woke progressive type, let's say a feminist, female, whatever, single. I don't need a man, no kids. My family, yeah, my dad is a conservative. We don't talk anymore. I mean, for them, that type of person, they need a purpose. Otherwise, why don't they just off themselves? It's like, but when you have a family and you have an extended family, you find your purpose pretty easily. It's actually really depressing just to think about these people in their lives.
Yeah. Doug, I'm a father. I'm married. And I have that purpose, right? And that's a very, very important purpose for me. I found that, with regard, you asked me about where my YouTube channel is going, so I'm kind of segueing into that to a certain degree. But, I wanted another purpose besides that, And that's what my channel was all about. It was just I want to make some sort of difference out there, right? And I thought that's the way for me to do that was through these conversations, right?
Well, you're still doing that, whether you have a YouTube channel or not, right?
It's true. It feels like the impact is just this hair thin,
Yeah, I get you. Especially because when people watch the conversation, they're even safer. They're in their own home and there's no pressure, and they can sort of resonate with the interlocutor, what they're saying, and they resonate with your questions. And oh yeah, that is a good question. I get that part, but don't think that for a second that just because a few hundred people are not watching it on YouTube, that it doesn't mean you're not fulfilling that purpose for that interaction. Probably the most powerful interactions that I've ever had have never been videotaped.
Yeah, I can agree with that for me too.
Yeah. Because whenever the camera's on, even here right now, I'm distracted, I'm whatever, I'm checking. Oh, thanks for the donation, PF Young. You gave me a donation earlier. It said something about Jordan Peterson. But if it were just me and you without the live stream, the conversation would probably be at least 10% better.
Maybe.
Yeah. Anyhow, any last words, thoughts? Are you going to be okay? You're going to get over this, the mob?
Yeah, I'm kind of already over it. It's just disappointing,
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah, this Derek guy from Myth Vision. It took him 3 years to figure out what I told him 3 years ago. Like what you can't. This woke progressive type mentality is like, if you don't follow their doctrine 99% or close to 100%, you're going to be ostracized, and you were ostracized.
Yeah. It's unbelievable how you have these relationships with people, just friendships with people. And then they find out like one of your beliefs don't align perfectly or are opposites. They're opposites, okay? I'm not going to sugarcoat it. And then it's just like, you can't be friends anymore. And I'm just sitting here like, what the fuck?
Were these people in the SE community?
Somewhere not.
You want to tell me their names?
No.
You want me to give them a talking to?
No.
I have to actually work hard on myself on, like, I like you, and when I see someone treat you this way, my gut reaction is to do what they do and just give it back to them. And I have to work hard, and I'm good at it if I choose to. Like, I'm very good at making people cry just with my words. I've never been in a fight. I've never done any physical bodily violence. But when you upset me, I can pick the buttons to press that I know will hurt you psychologically and emotionally the most. And that makes me a pretty dangerous person. So don't give me their names.
Wasn't planning on it.
Anyhow, thanks, Pierce. Sorry that this happened to you. But keep up the good fight as far as the street epistemology goes. You're very good at it. Because even when, like, we had disagreements years back, I never felt like any animosity. Like, there's some people I talk to online where I immediately just want to turn them off. Like they're like a nagging child at my pants. Daddy, like, or just constantly picking at me. And you never gave me that feeling or that impression. So you're good. You have a natural ability at it to engage with people and not have them feel threatened. But it's the people, watching who have these sticks up their butt. Yeah.
Well, thanks, Doug. I appreciate it.
Okay, thanks for coming on. Bye.
All right, bye.
Whew. Wow. Does anybody else want to come on? Let's see. I wanted to talk about that. I did. I wanted to talk about this. I haven't yet. I wanted to talk about Myth Vision. Haven't yet. Derek from Myth Vision. Let me check to see if he's responded to me. Because his story is very similar to Pierce's. No, he hasn't even seen it yet. Okay. His story is similar to Pierce's. Let me just talk about that a little bit. Derek at Myth Vision made a video saying how the woke mob kind of went after him. especially one person, one individual. The criticism against Derek here is that they're going to accuse him of grifting. They're going to accuse him. Okay, it's easy now. The world is becoming more like PineCreek Doug, the United States. It's shifted towards PineCreek Doug. So it's easier now for a guy like Derek to say, oops, I was wrong 3 years ago with how I treated this Republican named Bob Price and pushed him off my show because of his politics. It's easy now to say, oh, I was wrong, because the country's shifting, right? It's more acceptable to be Republican now. So that's going to be the big complaint. And the complaint also, they're going to say, well, he's asking for money to people support his wife's company and his YouTube channel. I actually don't think that's that big of a thing, because he's very transparent about it. Derek, if you ever listen to this, my advice to you is be completely, unabashedly open about it. Say, guys, I need money, and here's why. And please, if you find my services, this content valuable, please, throw me a buck. Most people are okay with that. Cameron Bertuzzi popped in my head when I said that. The reason why I think a lot of people don't like the way Cameron Bertuzzi from Caption Christianity does it is because he will frame in terms of, our company is in a deficit situation right now. Well, that's because you just want more money and for your personal lifestyle, whatever, and that's why you're in that situation. Just be honest. Like if I was Cameron Bertuzzi, I'd say, hey, my wife spends a lot of money. I mean, I need more money from you guys in order to keep my wife happy. Can you help a guy out? If he would say it like that, I bet you more people would donate. Are you listening, Cameron? Doug would be a very different person if he grew up in the United States. I have spent 26 years of my life in Canada and 28 years of my life in the United States. But if you mean like from age 0 to 16, if I was in the US, you got to remember, my dad grew up a mile and a half from the US border. And he would often, back when my dad was a boy, he could just walk across, buy chocolate bars at a U.S. corner store, and walk back across. Like, there was no border guards back then. My dad was basically an American as a kid, even though he was Canadian. Okay, what did P.F. Young, did you want to come in? You gave me money, $10. This slander against the philosopher of the 21st century, Jordan Peterson, will not go unaddressed, Doug. Yeah, Danny was on, if you didn't see it, and I kind of gave him a little bit of grief, like, why were you so hard on him? And he admitted that it was frustration. Frustrating to listen to Jordan Peterson for so long, and he kind of snapped at him. And I get that.
If you believe in an all-knowing God, then free will is impossible.
Yeah, well, he's using this to push back against free will, but I would use it to push back against the notion of an all-good God would never create this world if it hates evil. Yeah, I'm torn about this because he's using the argument I've been making for years. But like Jordan Peterson, in a way I respect is like, I don't really care what you're saying. And there's just so many terms loaded here. Like, what do you mean by free will? What do you mean by determined? One thing I know with a high degree of confidence, that when you're talking to Christians about if God knows the future, then there's no free will, and there's no libertarian free will, and that God basically is the creator of evil, and he's caused evil to exist. If you try to convince a Christian of that, you will never, ever convince a Christian. I shouldn't say ever, but you're going to fail. They're not going to buy it. But the reverse is also true. It's going to be very difficult for a Christian apologist to convince a guy like me that your version of God is not evil, or that your version of God didn't cause evil. He doesn't want evil, but he caused it. Because of the counterfactual that if God didn't create, there would be no evil. By God creating, and if he knows with 100% certainty that evil would exist, and by creating anyhow, God has caused evil. This whole idea about free will in between is irrelevant for atheists like me. And so an apologist, a smart one, is going to hear what I just said and say, okay, Doug, I'm not even going to try to convince you. I'll say, thank you. But what I will try to do, says the apologist, is to try to convince the Christian who might be listening to your argument that you're wrong. Because I don't want that Christian to leave the faith. Because I don't want them to go to hell. More importantly, I want them to go to heaven. Fair enough. Try to mend that bridge or mend that fence, build that bridge. But then it comes down to, in my opinion, psychological needs. If someone needs God, then this argument fails. They're going to work backward and say, I know God exists because we're here. I mean, there just has to be a God. There's no way there's a universe without a God. Okay, that's just a fact. Okay, I got that squared away. There's a God, definitely, and it's probably the God I worship. So, I mean, now I got to work backwards. How is it that God can know the future? We're free. How is it that God can know the future and he did not cause it by creating? Franklin asks, were you a determinist when you were a Christian? I don't know. I was not. I was not a determinist. I was not a Calvinist when I was a Christian, contrary to most people's beliefs. They hear me defend Calvinism, and then they think I was a Calvinist when I was a Christian. But I was a typical evangelical Protestant Christian. Born again type. I thought we had free will. But if someone were to have challenged me when I was a Christian, well, where does this free will come from? I would say, well, God gave it to us. I know, but your free will. Does God lick his finger and zap your choice in your head? No. Okay, then where does it come from? It comes from me. Well, but your free will comes from you, but where does that come from? It's basically a something from nothing type argument. That out of nothing, out of some type of soulish will, pops up a choice. Like if someone were to actually have pushed me when I was a Christian on this, I would probably have to admit that free will is a something from nothing type idea. It's a creation out of nothing. Well, no, it's not out of nothing. It's out of you. But what causes me to do that, to make that free will choice? You. Do you think the whole "but he knows what's happening right now" destroys open theism as a possible defense? No, I don't think it does. The problem with open theism, in my opinion, to solve this problem, open theism is basically the future doesn't exist. God only knows what's knowable, and the non-existent future is not knowable. The problem with open theism is that God is the perfect predictor. If God knows everything of the present and past, surely he can predict with 99.9% accuracy what's going to happen in the future. Like for we humans, we know the angle of incidence equals the angle of reflection. We can predict where a ball will go based on what it hits at what angle. God can do that with anything if he's all powerful. He knows all the angles. He knows all the motives. He knows all the electrons that are floating inside your brain. He sees it all because it's in the present. So the open theist is still stuck. God is morally culpable for all. He's more than culpable. He caused it. God caused. If he's omniscient, even in the sense of the present, he caused all evil, all pain, and all suffering by creating it and knowing it would happen, or predicting it would happen. The only way to be an open theist and really get around this problem is to say something like, God's no better than Thor or Odin. I mean, he's like at best 50-50 in his predictions. I mean, he screws up a lot. I mean, God gets surprised. Like if God had a birthday party and there were people hiding in the house, God's house, and he opens the door, surprise! Whoa, you really surprised me. Like they have to view God in that way. They basically have to strip God down, his omnipotence down so much, then you're left with a Thor type God. So in a lot of ways, the polytheist Celtic or the Roman gods, the Greek gods, they're more believable because of they basically lack these omni properties. What's the Mennonite position on this question? I think a lot of Mennonites don't even think about it, to be honest, on this free will and God causing evil. They would say the typical, well, people make free will choices, and that's what causes the moral evils amongst humans. And then because humans sinned in the Garden of Eden, that caused the foundations of the world to moan and groan and be a problem. That's why we have hurricanes that kill people. That's what they would say. But that's not really addressing the real argument of God seeing what would happen or even predicting what would happen, saying, I'm okay with it, so I'm going to create it. And in my view, if you're all-powerful and all-knowing, there's no difference between allowing and causing. No difference at all. Yeah, actually, the Old Testament hints of open theism, not the hints. If you read the Old Testament and get rid of all Greek philosophy, you would be an open theist. You wouldn't have these ideas of God having these omni properties. You would have this idea that God is the most powerful Thor, but not that he's all powerful. Do you think your why did God create it all is more effective than why didn't God create heaven from the start? Yeah, definitely, Descartes. I think the strongest argument, but it's also the hardest one for people, I think, to truly comprehend because they have these fixed ideas in their head. But you should frame it as, if God's all-knowing and all-powerful, he would not create a thing. There would be nothing. The fact that something like our universe exists is evidence against this God, not for it. Why, you ask? Because an all-powerful God is in need of nothing, has no desires for something. He's all filled up. He's all good to go. Now, especially if you add in things he doesn't like sin, evil. If he sees that happening by creating, definitely he's not going to do it. Why should he? Oh, for us. Oh, you poor humans. I've said this. This is the reason why I don't talk about this anymore, because I've said this like 1,000 times. And it doesn't make a dent to Christians. For most Christians, it does not make a dent. So why try? Hey, Doug, why are you not talking to people who challenge you? Who wants to challenge me? You want to challenge me? You want to come on? Oh, I didn't put the link. I didn't pin it. You have to ask nicely, Nathan. For you, you gotta say, Doug, may I please come on? And then I'll let you on. You need to kneel before me. Humble yourself in the presence of the PineCreek. You can come on if you say please. Maybe you already did say please. I don't know. Did I miss it? Pierce didn't have to say please because we had prearranged it. Someone else wants on now. Or maybe it is you, Nathan. You didn't say please.
And you're hiding. Where's your video?
Oh. What?
I guess it's because your video, you're probably using it on OBS or something.
Oh my goodness.
It's right.
I'm just thinking that all that time I was talking to Pierce, he couldn't see me.
Don't worry, Pierce is pretty stupid, so he won't have noticed.
He's not stupid.
He is.
Are you one of the guys who gave him a hard time?
No, well, I actually gave him a very easy time, but I think he deserves a hard time. I think that guy is so stupid. I'm not just saying he deserves a hard time for being stupid, but I think his stupidity has led him to immorality. So I think he deserves a hard time for that.
Can you give an example of his stupidity leading to immorality?
Yeah, I think that he's not intelligent enough to critically evaluate transphobic claims that he has uncritically accepted. So those sorts of claims would be...
But that wouldn't make him immoral. That would just make him stupid.
Well, I think that whether or not someone is sort of ignorant, they still do an immoral... Like, I'm a compatibilist about that, right? Like, if you're stupid and you kill a bunch of children with your stupidity, then you're still stupid. You're still immoral.
So if a mentally retarded person kills a person, you would view that...
Yeah, it's still wrong.
Well, no, it's a wrong thing to do, but you would hold them morally culpable, even if they had no idea what they're doing?
Well, I mean, I believe in restorative justice, right? So I wouldn't I'm not for the death penalty. I don't think Pierce should be killed. I don't think he should be punished for no
Well, that's
reason.
nice of you. You're going to let him live.
I'm all for, I hope he will change his heart and come to belief.
So what I'm confused. What stupidity did he do?
Yeah, so I mean, pretty much everything he believes on this topic is quite stupid. The last thing I watched of his was he had someone on. I have to have a look who it was. Who did he have on?
Mia, you mean?
No, it was who was it? Was it a live or a video? Oh, Michael Beck. That was it. Typology of being transgender. That thing. Fuck. That was terrible. And yeah, it's all this stuff that transphobic people love, because it's sort of the most demonizing psychological explanation you could come up with for trans people, which is that the real reason that everyone is trans is because they are perverts who are turned on by dressing as the opposite gender.
But Pierce didn't say that.
Yeah, but he's uncritically platforming those views without providing pushback is the same as endorsement. And I think he does believe those things. There's a reason that, say, for example, psychiatric channels who focus on the science of psychiatry wouldn't platform this guy.
So by not pushing back critically, he's evil?
Yeah, basically.
Okay, but you wouldn't harm him about that or anything. You just have to suck it up.
It depends. I think it would make him very sad to come to an understanding of how stupid he has been. But so you might consider that bad.
So how would you convince a guy like Pierce that that's stupid what he did and evil?
To be honest, I don't really know how. Because I think he might be too stupid to be able to convince. That's what I don't like. That's why I've not really wasted my time on it.
Okay.
Same sort of thing.
So there's nothing to be done?
Reed. Same sort of thing with Mr. Bean. I'm not sure I can convince him of anything as well. He's just cooked in the head. Mr. Bean.
Who's Mr. Bean?
Mr. Bean, Nice Wonder.
Oh, oh, I see. Because he looks like Mr. Bean.
Yeah.
So
Like,
you view Mr. Nice Wonder as stupid too?
Pretty much. Like, I honestly, I had this sort of epiphany.
What about me? Am I stupid?
No, unfortunately, the problem is that you're intelligent, and you won't like this. Yeah, the problem is that you're intelligent, and so that's why you're like a lot more slippery. So rather than just deflecting and distracting and stuff like that, like these people do to avoid really engaging with criticisms or coming to understand why people might think they're wrong, like you're smart enough to always come up with an additional reason and maintain consistency, and that's why it's very hard to change your views on things.
Okay, it's hard to change my views on things because I'm intelligent, and it's hard to change their view on things because they're stupid.
Yes.
So in other words, you just find it hard to change anybody's mind on anything, no matter if they're smart or stupid.
Yeah. No. There's some people who I think
you might as well be a nihilist, and
it depends on who I'm talking to. I think if I'm talking, like for example, if I have a conversation with, I've had a lot of conversations with Danny recently, right? I think we can both change each other's minds on things because the way in which we're engaging in conversation, we're not committed to labeling each other in particular camps. We don't have ideologically driven worldviews that are not susceptible to revision in certain types of ways. So I think that there's a conversation that can be had there because we're not lawyering for any positions. Like we just want to figure things out. So there's a lot of types of conversations where I think it's very easy to persuade people.
Okay, yeah, but with guys like Pearson Reed, like for example,
you.
Well, but because you came on here and you called one of the first things you said was Pierce is stupid and immoral.
Yes. That was quite an impactful, effective way, right, of communicating the position that I was taking and defining it as being in opposition to the narrative that
you just made him more of a Republican by saying that publicly.
Honestly, I think that for
you're
a while,
radicalizing him.
I think he's kind of already there. I just think he's been playing this kind of like dabble game for quite a while.
2 years ago, he said he was like pretty far left, and now he's a centrist. But now after he's probably still listening, and he's hearing you say these things, and he's saying, "I love Doug more and more, and I want to be just like him."
Sure, he may well say those things. The problem is, as you well know, with Christian conversion testimonies, when people join these irrational communities of believers, they spin stories about what happened and what persuaded them that are part of these narrative tropes of the group. So like the narrative trope in your group is this, that I used to be an atheist before I had my come to Jesus moment. That for your group it's I actually used to be on the left, but
I don't say that.
Yeah, I know you don't say that, but I'm saying like this is a very common narrative trope of like I was actually.
But you accept his testimony, right?
You accept his testimony.
No, I'm asking. Do you accept his testimony that he used to be a far left, let's say, politically guy?
I don't know what I think about it. I'd have to have a look.
So you think he's always been a centrist, or do you think he's even lying about that?
I don't know what his political views were like 2 years ago. I'd have to have a look at him actually talking about them. I would lean towards that he probably had some sort of like libertarian type views or something, just because that's what I lean towards when anyone's in that like street epistemology space, but I don't know.
Okay, let's say Pierce believes that what's the guy he had on?
Michael Bailey.
So let's say he agrees with Michael Bailey that some, let's say not all, but at least some of, let's say, trans women who are males dress the way they dress and dresses to get an erection, to get off on it.
Like yourself.
So what's the problem with that? Say that?
Yeah, the problem is the context in which it's being said. So imagine that a feminist in the US says there's nothing wrong with women choosing to become housewives. Right? Imagine a feminist in the US says that. Now imagine that a leader of the Taliban says there's nothing wrong with women choosing to become housewives. In the two contexts, right? Mm-hmm. If you do what you do, which is sort of like just say, well, just plainly, what does the sentence say? And ignore all the ways that human conversation actually works. Then, yeah, you're right. There's nothing that you can draw from that that's nefarious or immoral or anything like that.
No, but I'm asking you too.
I'm about to answer though. I'm answering is that in the context of the Taliban case, because of what you know about their politics, their theological beliefs, and the way that they pertain to the subjugation of women, you know that what that is a sort of dog whistle towards the oppression of women and the forcing them into those positions. Even though it's that sentence, the context implies everything else.
Okay.
So in the case of the culture war, it's a similar type of thing. If someone's taking all these right-wing positions, talking about all these culture war topics, then they will say, like, for example, what Pierce just put in my Discord was he said, I'd still say to a trans person, hey man, we can get along, right? And you could say, well, hey, look, the literal sentence, hey man, but it's a dog whistle. It's like, yeah, look at this cheeky way that I'm
trying to get at an answer on what's so bad about saying that some.
I gave you an answer, I think. Maybe.
Okay, you said the word oppression. That's bad. But okay, go on with that.
It's a dog whistle, is what it is. It's
okay,
what
so what?
Implies. What do you mean? So what?
Why are dog whistles bad?
Because in the political context that we're in, these are the sorts of things that are providing people with political schemas that inform their actions in the legislation.
Like what?
So the legislation that we produce might be things that would be things that would further harm trans people.
Like what?
Yeah, so laws that would exclude them from participating in sports, laws that might exclude them from fair treatment in prison.
So by saying that some
might lead towards being violently assaulted in restrooms.
Okay, so if let's say this Pierce and this guy he interviewed says, I do not advocate for bodily harming any trans person. I'm against violence, bodily violence, but I still believe that
exactly. That is not good enough. That's actually
it's not good enough to say that.
Yeah, it's not. It's completely ineffective. It's like I mean, this is what these sorts of people often do, right? Is they say these sorts of strategic disclaimers where it's very cheap to say something like that when you well know how your words are being received in the political context that they're in. Or you could just, I mean, there's another option, right? Which is just that you're very stupid and haven't paid any attention to what.
So even if you say to everybody, please don't do any violence to any person, just by saying you have a belief.
Yeah, because that's not the way conversation works. Look, imagine if I said this, Doug. Imagine if I said, and this is like something this is something you clipped me for before on your channel. Actually, if I said, look, I don't mean anything by this, by the way, guys, don't act on this. But I think that any American who respects American values right now would be purchasing firearms and preparing for some kind of. I don't mean anything by that. Don't act on this. I don't mean that. Like laying these strategic disclaimers and then saying something that clearly has direct implications in the context that you're saying it.
Okay, but aren't you being a hypocrite right now?
Well, yeah, I'm being a hypocrite in order to illustrate how your point is wrong about communication.
No, what I mean by you're being a hypocrite right now is, aren't you, through your words about Pearson, that guy he interviewed, aren't they at risk of violence against them? Because you're basically saying that they're these immoral people, stupid and immoral people. Aren't you dehumanizing them?
I think not, because you've got your secret police is controlled by Kash Patel. I think they'll be fine. Your Gestapo.
Oh, so but what if a woke progressive takes matters in their own hands and tries to do harm and violence against Pierce now because of listening to you? Yeah, you're saying Pierce is a dangerous guy.
I think there's a very low chance of that. Can you point me to any cases of violence committed against people for the purpose of transphobia?
Oh yeah, there was a trans woman who shot up a classroom a few months back.
Sorry, because the classroom was transphobic.
Well, maybe I can't get inside the head of the trans person, but maybe they believe that.
What I would need for you to change my mind on that is I would need to actually understand how many.
Okay, but wait a minute. You said it's a low probability that anybody would hurt Pierce or this guy over your rhetoric?
It's a low probability because I don't have any empirical evidence to indicate that there are people acting.
What if I would say it's a low probability that?
Yeah, well, I was answering that already because I knew that's where you're going.
Because you're a smart guy.
Yeah, because you taught me. I got half my brain tied behind my back as well. I do have reasons to think that there is violence being committed against trans people in our current political context because of beliefs that people have about them and them being perverts and all sorts of things. And so pushing these sorts of lies is exactly the sort of thing that riles people up into engaging in political violence against trans people.
How do you know it's a lie?
Well, yeah, you're right that maybe I'm misspeaking because I think that Pierce is probably so confused and stupid that he does genuinely believe these things. So you're right, I shouldn't have said it's a lie. Yeah, we agree. It's not a lie.
Okay, just wrong.
Yeah, wrong, stupid, confused. We agree.
How do you know they're wrong?
I know that they're wrong because the reasons given for these views are incredibly poorly evidenced, and there are better reasons to believe the alternative views.
Whenever I hear the word better, I think that's just a subjective opinion.
I mean, everything anyone believes is a subjective opinion.
Yeah, you can say that.
And you can say that. See how you have these like at the end, the terminus points of your discourses. There's like these like just sort of like hand waves, like that's just your opinion, dude.
Hey, listen to this.
Yeah, you can say that.
Nathan,
You know, G-Man said this to you.
On March 27, 2023.
That's what I knew. I heard your typing. You were searching.
Yeah. Well, no, I just brought it up.
Ask Grok to save me the effort of having to go into Grok and ask it to argue against.
There was a Christian. Hey, Nathan, I know this is uncomfortable to hear, but there was a private Christian school that was shot up by a trans woman. 6 people were killed
because of transphobia.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's bad.
Yeah. Maybe it's because of people, that maybe trans people listen to your rhetoric and they do violence. I think you should maybe stop saying these things.
Maybe it is. I think that 6 out of what's it, like 300 something million people in America.
Oh,
it's not a very high base rate.
How many trans people have been killed?
Of trans people, it's actually quite a lot. Like the rate of violence against trans people is exceedingly higher than it is.
And how do you know they've been killed for being trans?
By looking into the individual cases and then inducting.
So you've looked into individual cases. Okay, how many people have been killed for being trans, and not for, let's say, drugs or prostitution or homelessness?
Of the ones I've looked into, it's usually things like a guy who feels uncomfortable after doing something sexual, so he gets violent and lashes out, or someone going into a bathroom and because they're being forced to use a male bathroom, but they're trans, some kind of like bigoted guys.
So how many people have been killed in the United States or in UK?
Well, I can tell you that the rate's about 4 times higher. I can't give you an absolute number.
Well, the rate is kind of meaningless because trans is such a small percentage of the population.
The rate is what's meaningful.
You didn't talk about rates when we were talking about cis people being killed.
That's because you didn't produce them. I wanted to know the rates.
You feel more sorry for trans people than cis people, right?
Depends on about what. I mean, about them being trans, yeah.
About death?
No, not right.
So if a cis person kills a trans person because they don't like trans people, and if you feel sorry...
Yeah, one for one in terms of killing values.
So you feel just as sorry for a trans person being killed versus a cis person?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, fair enough. You don't have a special feeling towards trans people?
No. I know that you are going to struggle with that because it's a big part of the story that you tell. Where
Well, I don't believe you, but...
Well, yeah, I know, but I'm...
I think you tend to gravitate towards people who are hurting because you yourself were hurt.
And I think that you have a false explanation here because it helps you to make sense of your bigotries, but I actually think it's just false.
No, I just think my explanation is better to explain your actions.
Yeah, well, I was telling you why it's not better. The reason why I think it's not better is because what I'm going off of are pragmatic concerns. So my pragmatic concerns are involved by the base rates, the likelihoods. And so there's like a kind of threshold where I'm saying something's a realistic risk versus not a risk or problem at all. And so I just ignore things that are below that threshold. But in terms of if the risks were to become similar, like, then I would care just as much. Like all these human lives are of equal worth to me, and murder's equally wrong in each case. So what I was saying is the story that you tell, where you say, here's what here, audience, let me tell you, as the one person who believes this stuff that has a brain cell, why the woke believe what they believe. The reason they believe what they believe is because they've got a disease called feel sorry forism, where they feel sorry for the trans people. It's just not that. That's not what's happening.
Why do you think you're so much different than most Americans?
Skill issue. Americans are stupid.
Or even, I think most UK people are against trans women, males in female sports.
You got to remember, Doug, the average IQ is 100.
Why do you think you're so, like, you're in the 20% of people who think it's okay for males to compete against females? Why is that, do you think?
I don't know really about, I mean, I don't know in the surveys that you're referring to what people thought they were answering when they answered these things.
Okay, let's, you're smart, you can pretend there's a survey where we really know what they're really saying, and they're really saying we don't want males to compete against females. And would you be for males competing against females if they identify as a woman?
Yeah.
Okay, now in this pretend world, the surveys say 80% are answered differently than you. My question is, why do you think you're different than the 80%?
Because I think that I've deconstructed certain beliefs and ways of viewing social organization that I've received as a product of contingent history. And so I've assessed and reflected upon my values, what I think about the world, and I've not found good justification for things being that way.
Can I sum that up as saying you're more educated and smarter than them?
No, I wouldn't like that.
It sure sounded like you were saying that.
maybe to a fart boy from Manitoba.
You've deconstructed it, and you.
How many masters have you got again, Doug? 2.
Yeah. Thanks for bringing.
What wealth bracket are you in the US?
Oh, I don't even know anymore.
I don't know. I'm just trying to figure out which one of us is working class and who isn't.
I would say I'm upper middle class. Yeah.
What
does that have to do with anything?
Because you were trying to sort of like make me seem more unappealing to your audience by being like, see this highfalutin liberal, he thinks he's better than you, and that's another one of these rhetorical strategies. But the reality is that you're one of these wealthy people.
Well, you are better than a lot of people on a a lot of things. No question.
I'm not better than them. I just might have.
No, you're better than people on certain things. Like was it jiu-jitsu? What do you do?
Yeah, but I'm not better than those people
at that thing.
It doesn't make me. I'm not like a more valuable person.
That's not what I'm talking about.
Maybe, yeah.
I'm talking about that. See, even that I think you struggle with. Like, do you? Well, let me put it in the form of a question. Do you struggle with saying that you're better than other people in certain things?
Yeah, I think so. Probably, yeah.
Okay, I'm not.
Yeah, I know, and that's caused you a lot of problems.
No, because I know where I'm at, and I know there's, like, for compassion, for example, I'm way worse than most people.
I can give you one. I think it has led you into errors occasionally, but I think it's sometimes justified.
But I think that's one of the differences between left and right, or whatever you want to call it, is.
Why speculate this? Like, who knows? Like, why not?
It's fun.
It's not fun. It's not fun. It's just potentially misleading.
Well, it's not fun for you. You can leave. I'm having fun.
No, I'm having fun in a different sense. But I'm saying that in terms of communicating this to your audience, like, it's probably just going to be misleading. Like, they're not going to go, yeah, that was speculation. They're probably just going to, like, adopt this sort of belief, and then it's going to just fester in their mind, and they're going to apply it when they think of these topics.
But you think I'm like subconsciously controlling people or something?
Yeah, I think what you're doing is you're influencing people's beliefs. You're providing them with schemas through which to interpret the world.
That would make me evil.
I don't think you're evil.
Or a bad guy.
I think that aspect of what you do is bad. I would say.
Do you think morally you're a better person than me?
No. I would say, you know,
no male should compete in female sports. Are you morally better than me?
Well, hang on, what's the line from the Bible? What's the sinner of all sinners line? Which verse?
You mean Paul? I'm the worst of all sinners.
Yeah,
that one? Galatians or something.
Yeah, that's what I go with.
No, see, you do think you're better than me morally on certain issues.
On a couple of issues.
Yeah.
Not as a person or something.
And I encourage you to say that when you believe that's the case. Don't be shy.
But why? Like, I'm not trying to. I don't think it makes me a better person. It just means that my views.
No, you need to practice. You need to practice saying these things so people can learn to have a thicker skin.
Wait, how would that help people?
So let's say you say something. I'm better than you at X, and that makes me feel bad. And then you can say, but Doug.
Yeah, but it wouldn't make you feel bad because you're dead inside.
Well, no. Let's say it's on a X can be something that we've never ever talked about before or whatever, and it really hits me, and it's like, but Doug, it's true. I am better than you at X. And number two, you felt bad about it. So next time you need to accept the things that you can't control and toughen up. That's what you should say to me.
What I'm thinking is you would have been dangerous if you were a behaviorist psychologist in like the 80s or something. But
I agree with you there.
Yeah, you're the type of guy
I'm dangerous now if I was to be a psychologist.
I don't mean this just because of the political disagreements or whatever, but I swear you're the type of guy that would be doing like Nazi experiments and just like, oh yeah, it's just science or something. Look, I don't think that would help me achieve my. I think if I said,
no, I'm manipulating you right now.
I'm better than Doug on this. Then I don't think that would help me persuade anyone of anything.
Because what Pierce and I were talking about earlier is this sense of identity, and a lot of times people who don't have a strong sense of identity,
I completely agree. That's why autistic people are more likely to be trans than non-autistic people.
Okay.
Why is it bad to not have a strong sense of identity?
So you agree with my explanation of that?
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, I just don't think it's a bad thing. I'm perfectly fine with people changing their identity.
Yeah, and that explains why, like, misgendering is so hurtful, and why I think. Let me ask you: do you think some people would rather be spat on or punched physically rather than be told that they're not the gender they believe they are?
God, you gave me a softball for a joke there as well. I was reflecting on my answer
because I think it's true. I think some people would rather me spit on them or punch them in the stomach rather than me saying, "You say you're a woman, but you're a dude. You're a guy."
You've done it again. Like, do you know how much restraint I am?
I'm giving you practice.
All I'm going to say is Sapir Orde knows, if he's watching, he knows exactly what I'm holding myself in from saying.
But do you agree that their identity is so fragile that?
Well, I don't know. I don't want to say it's fragility. That's the explanation.
Why not? Why not call a spade a spade?
Well, how do I know it could not be fragility? It could be a bunch of things. Like maybe they just have like.
Well, what does not having a strong identity mean? It means your identity is fragile. It's not strong. I'm saying fragile is the opposite of strong.
It doesn't have to be. I don't think. I don't think.
See, here's your feel sorry for them again. You don't want to call it fragile because it hurts people's feelings.
It's not because you feel sorry for them. I think it's because you're using metaphors from physical substances and you applying those metaphors in psychology, and then you're drawing like metaphysical conclusions based off of the metaphor. You know, it's sort of like I don't know, if you said something about like hardness and softness, and then you started saying, oh, and here's how soft things are when you talk about materials, but then you say, oh, so people with soft minds, they must have I don't know, lower melting points or something. It's like, what? No, that's not true. You've just equivocated on the metaphor that you're applying, and then reasoned using properties of the metaphor in one case. That point might be a little bit too difficult for your audience, but I can hear Jamie like, oh, I want Curtis Yarvin I need Curtis Yarvin to explain it for me. Look, I just don't think that that's right.
Okay. So tell me why you're for males competing against females.
I just don't think that there's any good reasons to keep it apart. I mean, look, first off,
What would be a good reason?
Well, here's one issue. I think just let the markets decide, right? So why should the state legislate the way that sports should be conducted?
I like your answer. I like it. Let the markets decide. Let the markets. So if you're for letting the markets decide, when Pierce was on, I said what society should do rather than Trump doing an executive order is if there's a male competing against a female in a sport, what all the females should do is refuse to participate. That's society, the market deciding. Are you for that or against it? That's the market deciding.
No, you're right. Look. Well, I don't know if I'd characterize that as the market deciding. That sounds more like a union. What you're describing. And unions,
come on.
Do you support unions then? Are you in
favor? Actually, yeah.
I'll agree with you if you'll say you're in favor of the union.
I'm in favor of some unions.
I'm in favor of females boycotting trans events. There we go.
Okay, so what we need to do is encourage females to boycott any event with a male participating, and then you'd be okay with it, right? That's a good reason, right? The market has decided.
It depends on what the demand is for in terms of the consumption of that sport. So it might be the case that that these lazy workers don't want to do their jobs, but people in the market want.
You are slipping and sliding, weaseling out of this.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, look, I don't think it's a particularly serious case. Like, I think it's all about rhetorically just getting me to say something, right? So that's why
the market has decided, Nathan, in the United States.
No, the market decided it wants to see unisex sport, but because these lazy workers are unionizing and won't do their
job. The market
jobs,
has decided, Nathan, that
that's not the market. The labor force isn't a market.
Nathan, listen to me. The market has decided in the Society of the United States. Most people do not want males competing against females.
Where has there been like a free market of differently arranged sports by genders that people are just participating in that free market? And
so you said a good reason to say that for males not to compete against females is if the market decides. You said that, right?
Yeah.
Well, the market has said that.
Are you copying Danny with Jordan Peterson?
Oh, have I demolished you like Jordan?
I don't know. I've not got. I don't look.
So do you change your mind now? Because initially you said you're okay with males competing against females. I said what would be a good reason for them not to. You said if the free market decides, and I'm saying the free market has decided. You want me to pull up poll numbers?
I'm saying that I actually don't agree with you that would be the market deciding.
Okay, what would it look like for the market to decide?
It would be that there's no lazy workers involved.
Who are the workers in this with sports?
The female athletes.
What does it matter if they're lazy or not?
Well, it matters if they're lazy because they're lazy. They're unionizing. They're engaging in this collective, organized action that is preventing the product from being produced.
What are you talking about? Unions?
Public.
We're talking about athletes here.
Yeah, and you're talking about your communist agenda of them like unionizing.
Are you on drugs right now? Seriously?
Are you on drugs? No, are you on drugs?
You're not making any, Nathan. You're not making any sense.
Do you have a mental illness, Doug?
No, not that I've been diagnosed with.
But you're not making sense to me.
So I wouldn't fit in with your crowd.
Yeah.
What percentage of the people who listen to your show do you think have been diagnosed with a mental illness? I say it's 50%.
I'm not sure, but I think quite a lot of them are PhDs. So.
Well, that doesn't mean anything.
What percentage of the people in your audience do you think have an IQ of 100?
50? No, I'd say 60.
Really? Wow. I think it's probably about 20, but
you think it's below that?
I reckon. I think Jamie.
Why do you say that? What's your explanation for that? I'm curious.
I think it's because a lot of the more intelligent people stopped watching you when your political content got worse.
Because they're left wing?
Yeah, I mean, as we know, truth has a left wing bias, right? The more educated people are, the more left wing they become.
So more educated people tend to be left wing?
Yeah, you know that, right?
And
That's-
like, what do you mean? Educating mean having degrees?
yeah,
You're aware that in the United States, 90% of African Americans vote Democrat, and they don't have degrees. They're the lowest demographic to have degrees.
I thought Trump won the African American vote.
No,
No, he didn't win the African. I thought Trump did really well with.
he did. He did better than historically, but it was still like 78% or something.
Okay.
So you just condemned the right wing for not having enough degrees and a huge. Why are you beating up on African Americans, Nathan?
Because they just won't work hard enough to get their degrees. That's why. They won't. But they can't help it because IQ is sort of determined.
You just
by,
demonized, I think, the right wing for being stupid, and based on education, and African Americans have the lowest percentage of rate of having degrees.
I'm talking about your audience. I don't really care about African Americans.
Well, I have African Americans watching my show.
I mean, your one black friend, does he still watch?
No, he doesn't watch. He's too left.
I don't know how many black people watch your show, to be perfectly.
So, are you willing to kind of castigate African Americans like you do the right wing for not having enough degrees?
I have to, Doug. You forced me because of the importance of logical consistency. That I've realized all these years where I've been arguing in favor of DEI hiring and diversity, that in order to insult your audience and maintain logical consistency, I must now condemn the black people. So I'm sorry, black people, but you're condemned.
Oh, there you go. You're being consistent.
Wow. It's good logic, isn't it? And rationality. It's crazy what it can do.
Yeah. If only. Well, the thing is, I guess if African Americans got more degrees,
then there'd be more black people in positions of power, and you wouldn't like that. So.
Well, no, they wouldn't really shift the political spectrum for them because they already vote Democrat, most of them. So.
Yeah. Or maybe it's
having a degree in that case doesn't make a difference.
Well, no, you don't know. It could still make a difference, right?
Well, I mean, for the majority,
it wouldn't have a like maybe a big impact on the overall vote or something, but it could still make a difference. Or maybe you'd get more of them would like move towards someone like Bernie, say, and then they would want to, have Bernie run as a Democratic candidate rather than someone who's more of a centrist.
So what have we learned here? You're now for males competing against females.
That's right.
And you think that African Americans are as stupid as right-wing conservatives?
Absolutely. And it was 100% worth it to insult Jamie. So
I must say, I really appreciate you coming on and making me look so good.
It's all right, Doug. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's hard for you to look good these days, but
hey, I'm looking good, aren't I?
I don't know. I can't see you still. Your camera.
No, I turned it on.
I know, but something's going wrong with it. For me at least. I could try refreshing. Maybe it's on. Maybe I need to refresh.
Yeah, actually, refresh just for technical education purposes.
Am I going to see you? There we go. Yeah, I can see you now.
Oh, see, you could have seen me this whole time and see my little snarky smiles, and now you missed it.
That would have improved the entire interaction. Maybe it made it better though, because I was just focusing on.
Yeah, that's true. You would have got more riled up.
Let's feel sorry for him, because looking at. But
now that you see me, don't I look good?
No, I feel sorry for you now. Now I want to agree with you more.
I don't look good.
Yeah, you've made me feel sorry for you, Doug.
Tell me you love me.
The years have been difficult. It's been a difficult life.
Tell me that you care for me and that
I care for you. I care for you. Jesus cares for you, Doug. Jesus wants you back. Jesus says you would be the best Christian, the greatest.
You're still an atheist, right?
No, I consider myself a Christian now.
Oh, you do? When did that change?
Probably about when fascism became a big problem.
Like 4 months ago?
No. It depends on who I'm talking to.
Let's talk seriously. Are you seriously a Christian now? Seriously?
Yeah.
Like not Christian adjacent. You believe in Christ?
Yeah.
You're lying to me.
Okay.
Because you're smiling.
I know.
Don't smile. Tell me you're a Christian. I
find it funny how
you can't keep a straight face.
How you're struggling to cope with it. That's what I find funny. So
no. You're either on drugs or you're lying to me right now, or both.
Maybe I'm high on the Holy Spirit.
Okay, with a straight face, I want you to answer this question.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, sincerely, honestly, stop joking around. A lot of this has been fun joking around, but let's be serious. Do you believe that a man 2,000 years ago named Jesus was God incarnate, died for the sins of the world, and rose the third day bodily?
Hell yeah. Amen.
Well,
Praise the Lord.
that was believable to me. Well, I'm saddened that you. I'm glad you're a Christian, but I'm saddened that you are beating up on my friend Pierce and other great, wonderful
They need it
people.
to toughen them up, Doug. Like, don't you agree? It's the only way for them to get stronger.
He's not as thick-skinned as me. You got to do it
So you're
slowly.
saying he's got kind of like a pudgy face? Is that? Oh.
Personal attacks on me, I can allow, but not on him. Come on.
Not on Pierce, because he's
He's
gonna
a good-looking guy. Do you see that beard?
Yeah, because you spent so much time building him up after he felt bad. So he'd be one of your in your political kingdom, and so you can't be seen to insult him.
I didn't shift him, right? People like you did.
No. Or alternatively, people like you spinning a little story and making him feel good moved him right. Who can say? Who could say what the truth is? I don't know if it's true or false. And this is what people are saying. I can't say if it's true or false.
I want people like you to, because I want more Republicans. I want you to go on your live stream and say the things you say, and I tell you, it makes me happy.
So that's all right for you, but here's what I will say. So you're the people in your political kingdom, the Jamies of this world, right?
Is Jamie a Republican?
Yeah, she's an accelerationist, Doug. She's a crazy fascist lunatic.
I knew there's a reason I liked her.
Mm-hmm. So with like people like Jamie, what you got to do though is let them out of the little walled garden. They're adults now. Jamie's grown up. She can let Jamie talk to me. Don't keep her in your safe space. Expose her to the marketplace of ideas.
What do you think? She's my wife? I don't have a leash on her. Well, I don't have a leash on my real wife, but she's free to talk to you or not talk to you.
Why do you think these people in your space won't do that though? Why do you think they kind of hide behind moderating powers?
Which space? This YouTube channel?
Jamie, people like Jamie, people like Pierce.
Jamie doesn't like you, and I can understand why.
I don't like Jamie as well, but why is it that I want to talk to Jamie?
Why should she talk to you?
Because she doesn't.
What's in it for her?
Forever, and she will go to hell forever unless I can convert her. There's one good reason.
Give me a serious reason.
In terms of what's in it for her, I think that if I could deconstruct some of her beliefs, she'll have a happier life. I think she is a truly.
Oh, really?
I think she's a truly miserable woman.
Yeah, because when I look at you, I look at the picture of happiness.
Well, I've been smart. I've been having fun.
That's because you're high.
I'm not high. I got my nice pasta. I quit my job today, Doug. I got a great offer. It's amazing.
You got a new job.
Well, I've not accepted it yet, but I got a great offer in a tech lead position.
Wait, you quit a job without securing a second one first?
No, I'm saying I've not agreed to it yet, but I've got the contract.
Okay, you got the contract.
I've got some more interviews finishing this week, so I'm going to see.
Does it pay more?
Yeah, I mean a 10% pay rise, but also like a big, it's a tech lead role, so
good. Congratulations. And are you still dating that doctor?
I am, yeah. Unfortunately, I had.
Is she there?
She's not here because she's at hers. But she called me tonight when I was at work, and she was sad, and I couldn't be bothered like talking about her feelings. So I was like, this is a little bit of you and me. I said, you got to just be toughen up, like, and that didn't.
No, tell her that you're not responsible for her happiness.
I will. I can do that. I don't know if. No,
I like her more than you. She's like really cool.
I like her more than me. So.
But you need to lighten up on life.
No, well, I disagree, Doug. I think that you need to take certain things more seriously, and then we can lighten up on life when there's not a lot of very high stakes things on the line.
Well, I guess you're right because everything's going my way right now. So.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We are unfortunately.
Aren't you sad that everything's going my way?
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. That's exactly what I'm saying.
It must just eat you up inside. That
it does. I hate seeing my stocks go down every day. I hate seeing my food get more expensive. I hate seeing the quality of my meat go down. I hate seeing destabilization in the Middle East. The war in Ukraine going on and on and on when Biden would have had it finished by now. I hate seeing the destruction of Gaza where Biden had a deal to end it. It just, it really upsets me with this stuff.
So how do you deal with that upsetness?
Oh, I come on here and I talk to my therapist.
Oh, I'm your therapist.
Exactly.
No, you don't want me as a therapist. Trust me. Your girlfriend's a therapist. Does she do therapy on you?
She's a psychiatrist.
I know that's what you need, right?
Well, I don't know. So yeah, I mean, I mean, she does some. Typically, what she's doing is stuff around like prescriptions, but she does do some sort of psychotherapy.
Has she ever written you a prescription?
No, she can't write a personal prescription. That's not on that. She actually had to pay a lot of money to go and get amphetamines.
You got amphetamines?
Yeah.
For what?
For ADHD.
That's your mental illness? I thought it was something else.
Well, there you go. Your
ADHD. So what does that, if you don't take your medication, what happens to you?
I guess I just like focus on a lot of different things rather than staying focused on single tasks. So I kind of like, it's an attention deficit disorder.
So you like hop around from idea to idea, sort of like unions and women in sports?
Yeah, exactly. Or yeah. Or like, I might kind of like open one tab, I'm thinking about something, and then I'm like, oh, what about that? And then I'll go down that route. And then rather than sort of like staying focused on one task. I mean, that's what, there's a lot of different criteria, but I'd say that's sort of the main.
Did you do well in elementary school or junior high?
Yeah, I did. But I had a lot of behavioral issues as well. So exceptional student, always straight A-star grades. Actually, they kicked me out of some of my classes. They didn't let me attend them because I was so disruptive. But then
what did you do?
Oh, a whole number of different things. So sometimes it was just my amazing sense of humor. There was one I mocked, in English where you'd read like a book, and they'd be like, interpret the book. And I guess I just found it very kind of like cringe what they were doing. So, I kind of mocked it, but the same way you mock philosophy, really, where I was like, the very air, the blue represents the authors. And actually made the teacher cry, and she kicked me out of the class for that. And yeah, anyway, I ended up still getting like A stars in everything. And in my English, they tried to claim it was because of their strategy of dealing with me. They tried to claim it was because of their strategy of dealing with me that I was so successful. Yet they completely, tried to do me over. So,
if I was your teacher growing up, I would have realized that you're different. I would have acknowledged you for.
I know what you're trying to do.
No, I'm being serious. I think this needs to be done with more, especially young boys. I would have taken you out to the soccer field, and we would have ran and ran, and while you're gasping for air, we would go through a little bit of math, a little bit of science, whatever, spelling. This is how you teach young boys with a lot of energy. You don't fill them up with drugs.
I partly agree with what you're saying. Like, I think that I wouldn't agree 100% with the approach, but in terms of like the spirit of what you're saying, I think that I'm
like the education system for a lot of kids sucks, and people need to realize that not everybody learns the same, and that get out of the classroom and outdoors, and you can learn a tremendous amount outside just like you can inside.
I think there's something here to push on your values here, right? Because if you think about what are the incentives that are causing the education system to be the way it is, and it's the demands in the job market, and the view of them as the main purpose in life is to have a job and produce and consume products rather than to be an educated citizen. If you view the purpose in life is to be an educated citizen, then your purpose of education is different than if your purpose of education is to get people to some kind of like baseline of literacy and numeracy.
Well, I agree with you, especially at the university level. But most teachers are not thinking about that. They're just, I think most teachers, my wife's a teacher, they would view education, let's say K through 8, especially as a virtue, that it's good to know how to read and write, even if you never get a job.
I don't think it's that. I'm not saying that. I think it's the teachers are sort of like doing this consciously or something like that. I just think that they're beholden to incentives that are, then put onto people who make curriculums or people who make grading criteria and standardize, and that's what kind of propagates down to them. So as much as they might want to teach certain things, at the end of the day, the bottom line is...
Oh, you're talking about standardized testing, that sort of thing.
I mean, standardized testing is one aspect of it, but like, I don't know exactly how it works in America. I only know from The Simpsons, like, what the superintendent says, whatever, and why is he saying the things that he's saying and putting the pressures he's saying on the school, sort of thing.
Well, the thing is, at some point, you do have to teach people to be useful to society, right?
Yes, but it depends on society's values, what is considered useful.
Well, usually there's a hierarchy of them, but usually helping you live and not die is pretty high on the list, like doctors.
Well, the problem with that is that there are a number of ways to live and die. And some of them are one way and some of them are a different way. So I agree, like there's professions like being a doctor that people value because they care about their health. But then there's sort of like professions that you might look at as being essential. Well, okay, here's another way of phrasing it. Think under COVID of did you have the notion in America of essential workers?
Yeah.
So think about the types of people that were essential workers during COVID, and then think about how we value their skills monetarily in the way that the US economy is structured. Is it always the case that the people that are the essential workers are being paid the most?
No.
Right. And I think that is where I think you would disagree with this, but that's where I would say, what is valuable and monetary value kind of come apart. And so when we overly prioritize monetary value, we lose or disincentivize a lot of these things that are more important to life.
What's more important, to be a plumber or to be a gender professor?
To be a plumber, I reckon.
Yeah, I agree. Oh, we should end on that agreement. We
Yeah,
need more plumbers and less gender activist, philosopher, professor types.
Ooh, I think we need more of both.
No.
Yeah.
If we were to start on an island and the goal is survival, I mean, most left-wing progressive woke granola cruncher tree hungers would not be elected to go on the island.
Absolutely.
We let them die in the forest.
On an island, but in a nation of 300-something million people with complicated social hierarchies and institutions.
Let's see if you can admit this. At random.
Every time I agree with it, what it is that I'm always lying constantly.
No. You're assuming so much things about me.
Why did you say admit? Let me see if
no. This is completely aside, or not a completely aside, but I just thought of I'm just excited. Okay, I had thought of this thought experiment. If at random we take 1,000 Republicans in the United States and 1,000 Democrats in the United States, and we put them on islands, 2 separate deserted islands, and the goal is survival, where would you place your bet on which island would survive the best or the most?
I honestly don't know. I actually don't know. I could tell a story either way. I feel like I can spin a story either way. That would be
construction workers. Are they more likely to be Republican or Democrat?
Depends on the state and location.
Oh, come on.
It does. That is literally true. Like, I don't know why. I know that your political scheme.
Even in California, those guys showing their butt cracks. You think
this is a different claim. This is a different claim. Is that a different claim? Is how likely are they to be relative in one state versus how likely they are to be in the overall population. So it might be the case that 60% of them, it's like Simpson's paradox, whatever, 60% of them in California would be Democrats, but maybe overall most of them are Republicans.
Are farmers more likely to be Democrat or Republican?
Where am I sampling from, Doug? Where's my sample from?
At random in the United States.
Okay, completely randomized sample.
If you say Democrat, you're not being honest.
I don't know, because in the rural
you don't know.
Are there more?
Why is it so hard for you to admit?
Where's there more demand for construction workers?
Are rural people more likely to vote Republican or Democrat?
Where are more buildings built, Doug? In the middle of a field or in the city?
Cities. Okay, I'll give it to you.
Right. And where are people tend to be more Democrats?
And are men more likely to be Republican or Democrat, Nathan?
I think Republican.
There you go. Okay, we're on the baby steps. Now,
Yeah, but I'm being honest on all of these. I just think you were wrong about the construction one.
I think you're being disingenuous when you say I don't know.
Yeah, because I don't. Okay, well, I'm not. I actually don't know. If there's anything I can do that will prove to you I'm not lying about that, I'm happy to do that.
A 22-year-old male's Democrat, is he more likely to start a podcast or be a farmer versus a 22-year-old Republican male? Is he more likely to start a podcast or be a farmer? And keep in mind, you can't eat a podcast.
This one is hard for me to say. But no, because there's a number of different factors that go into it. Firstly, I believe that
you're pulling a Jordan Peterson. You sound exactly like Jordan Peterson.
My apologies for thinking about the question, Doug. I'm sorry that I'm thinking about it. Yeah, I tell you what. Why don't you just tell me what I should think about everything, and I'll just say what.
Actually, that's a great idea because you need help.
Instead of you asking me questions,
let me tell you then what you should believe and think.
Well, hang on. Let me just model it, right? So here's what we want to do. Instead of you like asking me a question and us going through the motions of pretending that you care about my answer, instead what we could do is if you just go, can you say for me, Democrats bad, Republicans good? And I'll just go, yeah, Democrats bad, Republicans good. And then maybe Jamie will be like, Nathan's really turned around, and she'll start thinking I'm smart.
Okay, this is what you should believe and think.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to survival, with my hypothetical 2 islands, men will do better than women, and Republicans will do better than Democrats. That's what you should think and believe.
Okay, I think and believe that.
There.
Am I rational now?
Now take a deep breath.
Doug, can you tell me, am I rational now?
Now say when it comes to survival,
am I logical now though, Doug?
You should think and believe that Republicans are better than Democrats at survival.
When it comes to survival,
Republicans
I think and believe that Republicans are
better than
Democrats.
There you go. You're on your way to truth telling.
Am I logical? Am I logical now?
Oh, you are perfectly logical.
Wow, that's good. That's some good stuff.
Yeah.
So we agree.
We should leave it there. We were having fun. I got you to say what I wanted you to say.
Good stuff.
We said it almost in unison.
I've not been looking at the chat, by the way, but have I sufficiently triggered your chat? Just I
don't think so.
Oh, okay.
Just one guy thinks you're a troll.
Oh.
But
poor guy.
I get that too. So anyhow, thanks for hopping on. All the best to your Christian walk.
Thank you.
And may the Lord bless you and richly make you rich, so you can make lots of money. And because the only value you can bring to society is how much you can earn. And so I hope you earn lots of money so people value and respect you. And what else? And that you can afford to get married and have children and a white picket fence. And that someday you'll look back at all this left-wing granola crunching tree hugging foolishness and say, I am now a right-wing fascist and I am proud.
Amen. Thank you, Doug. Peace be with you.
I actually really enjoyed that. I really did. I didn't enjoy the beginning when he insulted Pierce and his guest. But in a way, I like it because I prefer more people to think like me. Not to say everybody should think like me, and people like Nathan, if he's being at all serious in calling people like Pierce as stupid and immoral for having, let's say, beliefs different than his or not pushing back the way he wants. Yeah, that will cause more people to shift right. And that's A-okay with me. Is Mr. Bean here? I don't think so. I don't think anybody disagrees with me that when it comes to survival, men before women, Republicans before Democrats. When I say survival, I mean like hunting, fishing, agriculture, construction, fighting off wild animals. You want a left-wing progressive granola crunching, tree hugging, tie-dye shirt wearing guy to fend off a wolf? Or do you want a big Republican man to do it? I tell you, Democrat men, they just look at a shovel and their hands bleed. Oh, no, we want, actually, today, David, you make a good point. We do need Democratic people on the island for the musicals. Musical theater for entertainment. What Democrats are really good at is entertaining Republicans. So, you know, the wealthy Republicans who go to Broadway shows and so forth. It's the Democrats who entertain us. We look at the Democrats and we say, dance, monkey, dance. Poof. My apologies to Jordan Peterson. He was scheduled to come on the show, but we ran out of time.